welcome to today's Illuminate episode with Karen Love. And we're just gonna double check to make sure things are working here. My apologies, Karen, on the delay right now.
It's okay.
We are live. Okay, perfect. Hello, everybody. And welcome to today's Illuminate, where we have special guest, Karen Love. Thank you, Karen, so much for joining us. Karen is a seasoned spiritual medicine woman with over 13 years of experience working with ayahuasca. Through this sacred practice, she has gained profound insights and teachings, which she now shares with others, guiding them in integrating their journeys. As a spiritual guide, Karen empowers individuals to explore their inner selves by asking thought-provoking questions and transformative questions that challenge them to step outside of their comfort zones. She delves deeply into the well of each person's wisdom, helping them bring it to the surface and into their lives. Karen believes that everyone has access to infinite knowledge. It's just a matter of knowing how to tap into it. Having gone through the school of ayahuasca and the school of life, she has mastered the lessons of trial and error, resilience, and the art of surrender. Karen teaches others how to trust and utilize their intuition, a gift that has been passed down through 4 generations of her family. With a natural ability to read people, she identifies patterns and helps clients untangle their challenges, addressing issues directly and effectively. Whether you seek a gentle approach or prefer a more direct path, Karen tailors her guidance to meet your needs, all with the goal of transforming you from the inside out. So thank you so much, Karen, for joining us here today. And I would love to hear, how did you get into ayahuasca and how did this whole journey start for you? Oh,
Okay. Can you hear me okay this way?
I can hear you now. Yes.
Okay. So, how it started, it's funny. So in December of 2011, I had a breakdown. I mean, a full on, my whole everything fell apart. My life fell apart. I fell on my knees and I said, "What do you want from me?" I threw my hands up and I surrendered to life.
Yeah.
And I heard this little tiny voice just say, "Get on Facebook." And I was like, what the heck? Okay, I'm going on Facebook. I went on Facebook and in the top corner, it said ayahuasca. And I've never seen the word before, never heard of it before. And I touched it. And it took me down a rabbit hole I was not expecting. And I was like, this is funny. This is cosmic. This is a cosmic joke to me because ayahuasca is not cheap. It's an expensive it's an expensive hobby. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Um, it is it's a calling. You get called to it. It's not something that you go looking for. But it found me in my deepest, darkest place. And after I kind of dove deep into it, I was like, okay, all right. You think you're so smart? Bring it to me because there's no way I am going to go to Peru to do this. I am broke beyond broke. I am like literally paycheck to paycheck. Everything was so just, it was bad. All my relationships were bad. Everything was just horrible. And 2 days later, I had a friend call me and just go, "Hey, by the way, we're doing ayahuasca at Wasaga Beach. You want to come?" I was like, yes. And the thing is, I didn't have money for it. I just absolutely did not.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, $175 better be in my bank because that's how much it costs. Lo and behold, a couple weeks later, there it was. We were ready to go. I had 1 day left. I got a check in the mail as a rebate for $175. The
Amazing.
person that I was going with was like, "I'll take care of all the gas." Awesome. We went. It was, let's just put it this way. It was not what I expected. I don't know what I expected, but it wasn't what I expected. It was much more profound than that. Um, we get to this place and it was a little tiny cabin in kind of like tucked in the woods a little bit. Nothing spectacular, just a little place. There were 4 of us all together. And I thought to myself, okay, I'm doing this. Oh my God, I'm doing this. Like, I don't know why I'm doing this, but I'm doing this because I've never done psychedelics in my life. The worst thing I ever did was weed. Like that was it.
Yeah.
And I was just like, okay, I'm doing this. And it's funny because the person that was serving was like, Karen, nobody is ever excited to do this. I'm just like, you don't even understand. I'm like vibrating. I'm like, I was full on, like my whole body was vibrating with a
Yeah.
yes. And I know that feeling. And when it's a yes, I have to dive head first, all in. And boy, did I ever.
Yeah.
Um, I dove in head first. And that ceremony, I died and I came back and I met God and I met the devil. I'm just going to call it evil because it didn't have a form, it just was as well, but it
Yeah.
was a
Yeah.
dark entity. I met both. Um, I met, as weird as this sounds too, like aliens and everything in between. I mean, there were Nordics, there were aliens, there was Shiva, there was Shakti, there was Buddha. But the one person I didn't meet was Jesus, and that was who I called for.
Mm.
Nothing, nothing. But I'll go into that after because
Okay.
that one took 13 years to come forward.
Gotcha.
But so my very first experience was traumatic, extremely traumatic. Um, but for some reason, I was like, let's do it again. Like I'm a sucker for punishment, and so we did. I decided to go do it again, and I did it like just a few months later. So I did it pretty much every 3 months as I don't know what you would call like spiritual maintenance.
Okay.
And then the medicine told me that I needed to work with her and that this is not going to be just a process of, come and get insight. This is, you're going to be cleaning house and you're going to be helping
Mm.
others. And I'm going to take you down a really dark path. And it did. It took me to some of the deepest, darkest places within myself
Yeah.
that I ever, like, I could never fathom such a place. But it took me there because it had to. I had to
Yeah.
clean it. And man, I did. And then in 2012, I went with my at the time boyfriend and I had this incredible experience of this beautiful energy swirling around me. And it was just nonstop, like this pink, sparkly energy just swirling. And I just kind of was like looking at it and watching. And it was like, will you accept me? And I was like, of course I'll accept you. Lo and behold, I'm pregnant. And I
Mm.
didn't even know. So Jude is my ayahuasca baby, and
Okay.
he's my youngest. He was not supposed to be, but just before that happened, I also felt this like I'm gonna call it energetic surgery on my womb because
Mm.
there was some stuff that was not working. Like it was not. I was told absolutely you can't have any more children. Like it's not gonna happen. Well, lo and behold, it did.
Yeah.
So um ayahuasca took me down some really funky paths. Let's just put it that way. And one was spiritual, one was physical, one was like mental emotional,
Mm-hmm.
and then the other one took me down a path that I was not expecting, and that was towards the end of like the last time I did ayahuasca. um I've been to Peru. Peru was It was an interesting experience.
Yeah.
um when I went to Peru, I'm just going to say it like this. I had an experience where in a dream I had one of the Golden Girls, the
Okay.
the one that's kind of Rue McClellan or whatever her name is, something like that. The one that was she liked to sleep around. What was her name? Blanche.
Yeah. 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 Okay.
Okay. So she came to me in a dream and she was like, "Honey, you need to find Jesus." And I woke up and I was so angry and I was so pissed off that she told me that I need to find Jesus when I was here to find myself.
Mm.
And
Uh,
it stuck with me the whole time I was there. And that underlying resentment and anger, oh, it just decided, okay, let's come up full force, like on my fourth ceremony. And what happened was I was like, okay, Jesus, if you are real, like if you are truly real, I need you to reveal yourself to me because I have an inkling that you're real, but I can't I can't connect. Like,
Yeah.
are you real? Nothing. Radio silence, like
Mm.
nada. And so I chalked it up to, you know what? All right, he's a story. It's bullshit. Like, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna live my way. Done.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. So I thought.
I was gonna say, how'd that work out for you?
That did not work out because my very last ceremony, which has been like 2 years now, and I'll explain why I haven't touched it since. My last ceremony lasted almost 24 hours. Everyone
Oh.
tells me that it's absolutely impossible, and I was like, I promise you, it is not. I got stuck. I got stuck in the medicine.
Mm.
The only thing that got me out of it, and if I start crying, I apologize. The only
Tears
thing
are
that got
welcome.
me out of it was Jesus, which
Okay.
was hilarious.
Yeah.
Um, but not just Jesus. I'll explain. So in the ceremony itself, I was doing all the work that I need to do, which is great. I sent, I'm sorry, I love you, thank you, forgive me, to all these people that I needed to. And then the ceremony was done, and then my ceremony began. So I am notorious for having ceremony after ceremony, just for myself.
Yeah.
And I go really, really deep within myself and I just clean house. Well, this time it wasn't about cleaning house, it was about getting real and getting
Mm.
straight and looking at all my addictions, looking at all the things that keep me in loops.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, okay, I'm aware of what's happening here. And then it kind of like flooded my brain and I couldn't keep up. And it was just like, needs to change, this needs to change, this needs to change. And it was just constant, constant, constant for hours.
Mm.
And then daylight comes and I'm just like, I still feel it. Like I'm really in it still. And they were like, have some fruit, see if that helps, have some tea. I have a little bit and I'm just like, I've got to lay down. I just have to keep going. I couldn't. And we had another ceremony that night. And I was like, I can't do ceremony. Like, I absolutely cannot. I need someone to call, excuse me, I need someone to call my son to come pick me up. And so my oldest son, thank God for him because, oh, he was such an anchor for me. As soon as I saw him, I'm like, please, let's go home. Like, I just need to go home.
Yeah.
I slept all the way in the car. I never sleep in cars. I was in between like lucid dreaming, dreaming, and visioning all at the same time. I couldn't differentiate between reality and not reality. He gets me home and I go right to bed. And he calls my other half, Brian, and he's like, Brian, you need to come. Like, mom needs you. He came as soon as he possibly could. I'm still in bed and I'm still feeling it, like really heavy into it. And I'm telling you, like, Brian just held me and he's like, okay, you know what? We're going to just lay here until you're done. I'm just going to love
Mm.
you through this. He just held me and I would cry, laugh, cry, laugh. I was like insane. I felt like I
Yeah.
literally felt insane. And then I felt Jesus. I felt Jesus in the room. I felt Jesus. I just felt him. And I was like,
Yeah.
okay, okay, what is this?
Yeah.
And then he took me back to ceremony while I was in the ceremony. While I was like, it's really hard to explain how I can go between visions and I don't know how to explain this. I can go between visions, but they all interconnect in some way, shape, or form.
I do the same with timelines and dimensions where it's
Yes.
like I can see the highways in between. So I
Yes.
understand what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yes. So I had this one moment that I totally forgot about, but apparently I didn't, where he was literally moving beside me. He was this beautiful, beautiful light, and it was like green and gold, and it was just
Mm.
moving beside me. And he's like, I've always been with you. I'm always beside you. I will never forsake you. I'm always with you. Just
Yeah.
call on me. And I was like, I've called on you so many times and you've never come. He's like, because you didn't believe. And I was like,
Mm.
very interesting because I didn't think I needed to believe to have an experience. But apparently I did. Like deep down, I needed to believe that this was true.
Yeah.
And the weird part is he took me on this journey. And at the end of this, I don't even know what you want to call it, the end of the road, I don't know, this big book opened and it was the book of life, literally the book of life. And I was like, ooh, what's that? Like, I was so like, I need to know.
Yeah.
And I literally heard the voice of God say, it is the living word of God.
Mm.
Boom, that ceremony and that stopped. And then my ceremony started. So I didn't realize that happened until he reminded me that that is what happened, which I know that sounds so bizarre, but the timelines, everything kind of like interweaves.
Yeah.
So as soon as I kind of have that realization, I'm back, 100% back. I was like, oh my God, oh my God, that ceremony was so hard. That was like the worst one I've ever had in my life. Like I was just ridiculously like, did that just happen? And
Yeah.
Ryan's like, are you okay? And I'm just like, I'm gonna go in the shower. I'll be right back. Like it was as if nothing happened, but everything happened. It's like
Mm.
ayahuasca took me down this journey from day one to like 2022. It took me on this journey of like deep exploration, but it also brought me to God.
Yeah.
And I mean the true God, not the like, I'm going to say it like, not the woohoo God. It's like, yay, God. It's the true God within. Everybody has that God self within. We've got that light within. If we cannot listen to that, if we cannot feel that, we've got to go on an inward journey. Hence
Yeah.
why it, this is where I'm going,
Yeah.
because I had to go so out there, which was really so in there,
Yep.
in order to get where I am.
Yeah.
And ayahuasca was my sacred path. And I had so many people tell me, you're doing devil's work, Karen. Like, do you realize what ayahuasca is? It's not for Christians. It's not for this. It's not for that. But I've never really been a Christian. I believe in God. I believe in Jesus now. Like I believe in all of it.
Yeah.
But I also believe that there are certain things that most people don't understand. And just because you don't understand it doesn't make it less valuable or less, you know what I'm trying to say? Like, what's the word I'm thinking of? It's just, it's not less than.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I kind of look at it like ayahuasca was my sacred path to bring me to where I needed to be. And where I needed to be was right where I am right now.
Yeah.
And where I am right now is I'm at this like beginning, but at an ending. And it's like I'm right in between the two. And it's this beautiful now what?
Yeah.
And this now what is where I'm at. And I keep being reminded, stay centered, stay grounded, don't waver, surrender when you need to,
Yeah.
trust yourself, and you will know when to move. You will know when to react. You will know what to say. You will know what to do. And again, it's intuition.
Yeah.
Intuition, I don't care what anybody says. We all have it. We just have to know how to tap into it.
Yeah.
And I think that the majority of people are afraid to listen to their intuition because they don't want to be wrong.
Mm.
And sometimes you have to make mistakes in order to know where you're going, to know what you're doing so that you can fine tune it. It's kind of like a radio station, literally.
Yeah.
If you play with the dial a little bit, you're going to tune into like a really clear, crisp radio station. And that radio station has your highest good. Like it's for your highest good.
Yes. Yes. And actually, I love how you actually brought that up in your bio that you've been through the school of ayahuasca, but also the school of life, where you've learned from making mistakes, you've learned the resilience, you've learned the different steps of surrender. Because it's surrendering to me, it's never been like this free fall into surrender and like, I fully trust. It's like, okay, God, I trust you now until the next thing happens where I don't trust. And then it's like this deepening of the trust and a deepening of the
Yes.
surrender.
Yes. And I think that's exactly what it is people are so afraid to fail because that means what? That they were wrong. Oh, heaven forbid. There are worse things than being wrong. Being wrong means you tuck your tail between your legs and you keep moving.
Yeah,
Done. Like it's
yeah,
that simple. And I am the queen of making mistakes. Like the queen of it.
yeah,
I need like a little crown that says been there, done that. Like I have been there, done that. I have failed so many times. But in that failure, it taught me what I don't want to do, what I don't need, what I
Yeah.
don't need to listen to. Um, there's so much more to it. But
Yeah.
for the most part, it's the what I don't want. I
Yeah.
don't want any of that. And it makes me go, okay, well, what do you want? And every time I go towards something I want, it takes me on a little journey. It's like, are you sure you want that? You sure you want that? Let's test this. Let's test it. And I'm telling you, everything that I thought I wanted, 9 times out of 10, I don't. I really, truly don't. It's something else in me is just like, oh, I want that. Oh, I want what
Mm,
that person has. I want what this person has. No, I don't, because you have no idea what it took for them to get to where they are.
yeah.
So it's interesting because I used to be, and I'm going to say this because I think some people need to hear it. I used to be jealous of other people's success. I used to be
Mm,
very jealous of it to the
yeah.
point where I would stall myself because I didn't feel like I was as good as they were. I was never
Mm,
going to be that.
yeah.
And I think that is the dumbest thing I've ever done for myself, for the simple fact that I am not anybody else. I am
Exactly.
myself.
Yeah.
And the people that need what I have and the people that need the guidance that I give, they come forward and they come forward on their own. And how it happens, oh, sometimes it's miraculous and it just like gives me goosebumps because
Yeah.
I'm just like, how did you hear about this? And almost all the time it's word of mouth. And I'm so grateful for the people that have shared that and been like, go talk to her. Like
Yeah.
seriously, go.
Yeah.
Because intuition and yeah, I'm gonna say intuition and making mistakes create healing.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
100%.
Yeah. Yeah. And that intuitive voice that you talk about, I just had this kind of revelation that happened last week where it was pointed out to me. There was an experience that I had when I was a teenager of an older man who had given me money to pursue something that I thought I wanted. In hindsight, I can see I never actually wanted it in the first place. I just thought it was a doorway open for me to step into something else. But, anyways, he had given me the money. And then about a week and a half to 2 weeks later, he made a pass at me. Now, understand, I'm 16 and he's like 50. So I was like disgusted. And in this class that I'm in right now, I was like, so do I give him the money back? Because I never did pay him back for this money. And like, should I give it back? Is it rightfully mine now because he made a pass at me? Do you know what I mean? Like, you
Yep.
kind of go through these things.
Yep.
And the teacher came back to me and said, the anger that you're holding on to, yes, it can be towards him. But was there an intuitive voice inside of you that said, don't accept this money? And I had to sit with myself and go, yeah, there was, because it just seemed wrong to even accept the money, but I did not listen to that voice. I was more concerned about what I wanted at that time. And so then it kind of made me go, well, how many times has that inner voice told me, go this way? And I'm like, that way. Or
Yep.
don't say this. And I'm like, I'm saying it. And, all of these opportunities for me to choose a better path or a different path, a more aligned path. And then the small self kind of took in and went, nope, this is what I want.
Oh, yes. Like, I'm going to say this every time, and I mean every time I went against my own intuition, I fell on my face. I
Yeah,
fell so flat on my face, it's not even funny.
yeah,
Like, and it was like through relationships, through jobs, through the way I move through life, the way I think, everything.
yeah,
Like, the moment that we think we are truly in control, we are doomed because we are not in control. In the
yeah,
grand scheme of things, there is something at play. There is something so much bigger than us that is like orchestrating this divine, beautiful dance of life.
yes,
And then there are these like people that are just like, no, I'm going to go this way just because I want to rebel. I
yeah,
am sorry. That rebelling, okay, I'm a rebel. I love to rebel. I love to go against the grain because I like to create a little bit of chaos in the most beautiful way. I
yeah,
do it in order to create change. I don't do it to like hurt anybody or make anybody feel anything. It's to create change. And the really funny thing is I get people following me and they follow me and I'm just like, okay, you really want to do that? Because I promise you, we're going to fall on our face here. This This is how I learn. I learn by doing it the hard way, by falling on my face, getting back up and turning around
Hmm.
every single time.
Yeah.
And the people that follow me, they're like, why didn't you tell me that this was the wrong way? And I'm like, you have your own mind. You can think for yourself. If you
Yeah.
can't, that's the problem.
Yeah.
You need to be able to think for yourself. You need to be able to trust yourself. If you cannot trust yourself, you cannot trust another soul,
Mm.
period. And that has been a big life lesson is that if you can't trust your own, and like you can't lie to yourself, so you might as well trust yourself. You cannot lie to yourself. You
Yeah.
can try, but internally, we all know the truth. We all know the truth of something. So hypothetically, when people, this has been one of my faves. When people come to me and be like, "Should I stay in this relationship?" I'm like, "Well, what do you think? What inside of you is saying stay?"
Yeah.
Well, I love them. Is love enough? Like, is it enough? Is there anything else that's making you want to stay? Well, no, that's it. Okay, then you need to dig deep, honey, because your whole everything is telling you go,
Yeah.
but that part of, well, but I love him. That's not enough. You can love someone from afar and heal
Yeah.
and go into something even more beautiful than what was.
Yeah.
But I digress on that because I could go down that rabbit hole all day long.
Well, and I think it's actually something very important to talk about. And I had received a reading prior to getting married to my first husband. And in that reading, I said to her, is my dad okay with me marrying this guy? Because my dad had passed prior to that. And she said, are you okay with marrying this guy? Well, I didn't want her to ask me that.
Right?
I kind of wanted my dad to come in and go, you know what, maybe put on the brakes here and maybe don't go through with this. You
Because
know?
then you wouldn't have to take responsibility for having that knowing.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. And so I can appreciate when a client comes in and they're asking these questions of should I? It is that disconnect from that inner voice and that ability to trust that inner voice because sometimes there's no rhyme or reason
Yep.
that inner voice is even showing up or telling us, hey, you need to leave this relationship or this
Mhm.
has come to an expiration date or
Yeah.
whatever. So, and I know you work a lot with the intuition. So, how would you guide someone to connect with that voice and to be able to trust it, especially when you've talked so openly today about like, you're like, I'm going down this wrong path and
Oh
I'm
yeah.
going to make a mistake. I'm going to
Oh
learn
yeah.
what I can and then get up and go the other way. So, for yourself, what has the process of, I guess, connecting with that inner voice and learning to follow it with hopes that it's not always going to lead down a wrong path or a mistake path?
Yeah. So it's interesting because I'm learning and I'm still learning to this day
Yep.
that there is a voice that, okay, I'm going to kind of put it like this. There's a voice that tells you yes, and there's a voice that tells you no. And it's your own, it is something within you, but you have to ask the questions.
Mm,
So the yes, okay, what is it that's making me say yes? Is it just a feeling and just an emotion, or is there something more to that? Same with the no. The no, is it a feeling and an emotion, or is it something else? And that's where I start saying, like, you've got to dig deep. You
yeah.
can't just do the surface emotion feeling stuff. That, oh, that's what makes people crazy. Emotions and feelings make people crazy in
Yeah.
the sense that sometimes people allow emotions to take over and people cannot differentiate between emotions and feelings because they feel the same, they look the same, but they're from two very separate sources.
Yeah.
So like emotions come from a thought and it creates an emotion, and that emotion creates a feeling that emanates.
Yeah.
So the thought is, so for instance, I'm just going to kind of take you on a little emotional highway here
Love it.
because um during one of my ayahuasca sessions, and honestly I think it was my very first one in Peru, it was pouring rain and all of a sudden I heard this buzz, this huge buzzing sound, and I was like, oh shit, I'm in trouble. And I heard my inner voice just go, sink into it. I was like, oh my God, okay, here we go. And I fell so hard and so deep into this, like, I'm going to call it the space of information. And
Okay.
you know the movie Monsters Inc., where it has the doors on conveyor belts and they're just going and but it's infinite, it's just everywhere. Thoughts have the same kind of process. So there are good thoughts and there are bad thoughts, and then there are thoughts. Thoughts are entities, by the way. They are never our own. They are
Yeah.
always external.
Yeah.
People don't understand that thoughts can be implanted. Thoughts can be like people can just toss it. And it's like if you hold on to it, if you let it anchor, it'll start growing roots. So here's the thing, all the good thoughts are going this way, all the bad thoughts are going this way. And they're just going, they're doing it their own thing. We're not aware of them all the time. We're aware of the ones that catch our attention. The good thoughts, usually we're just like, yep, keep them coming, just keep going. But the bad thoughts, hypothetically, if someone's like, oh my God, what if I lose my job? Oh, okay, well, right now you just noticed it and it's gonna be like, oh, you see me? Okay, let's grow some roots and let's play with this. And it'll start to like grow its own everything to me looks like plants when I'm doing this. So I'm just gonna say it grows its own plant.
Yeah.
And you look at it and it looks pretty, but it's poisonous. You
Yeah.
don't want to go into it. You don't want to play with it. You don't want to touch it. But for some reason, you are just so compelled and you are so like, oh, I'm afraid to lose my job. I'm afraid to lose it. Well, all of a sudden, that takes over. It becomes like this massive vine that covers all the foliage. And all of a sudden, you lose your job. I wonder why. Because you allowed the thought to take over. The
Yeah.
thought created an emotion. The emotion was fear. The emotion was nervousness. The emotion is like, oh, what if? I hate what ifs. What ifs drive me crazy. I'm the queen of what ifs too, though. I do what if all the time, but not the bad what ifs.
Yeah.
I
I
do
was
the
just gonna
good
say,
what
yeah.
ifs. And the good what ifs are, but what if it doesn't happen like that? What if something better comes? What if I lose this job to get something better? And that all of a sudden, you'll notice that like it shifts. So the thought will shift into a good thought and it grows its own little beautiful something and it flowers.
Yeah.
And that you're like, okay, let it keep going, let it keep going. And I know this sounds really bizarre,
No,
but
I like it.
the information highway is whatever you give attention to, it anchors. And when it anchors, it grows roots. And the more attention you give it, the bigger it grows. The bigger it grows, the more it engulfs everything. When it engulfs everything, you're in trouble. You
Yeah.
It's like something will stall. And it's kind of like, when you flood your engine, it'll stall. Well,
Yeah.
this is being your thoughts are being flooded with the bad shit. The bad shit can't clear out until you either acknowledge it and say, you know what? That's not the truth. That is not the way I'm really thinking. That's not really how I'm feeling. Shift it.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying make everything positive because not everything has a positive twist. But if you can shift the way you're looking at it and not even just looking at it, how you're feeling it. That's the biggest part. Your feelings and your emotions are the things that change everything.
Yeah.
It's just, it's hard. It's hard when you're in it. It's kind of like that movie Soul. Have you seen that on
Yeah.
Disney?
Yeah.
That movie was like my heart. And when he was engulfed in that darkness, and all
Yeah.
it took was somebody to give him a little key, like the maple key.
Yeah.
I was just like, oh my God, like I know what that feels like. And sometimes someone just needs to go, but hold on a second, you're looking at this wrong. You're feeling
Yes.
this incorrectly. And if you do it in such a way, all of a sudden, everything just kind of does this.
Yeah.
And you can start to see things a little clearer, feel things a little easier. And you realize that what you were stuck in was a thought. You're not stuck in an emotion. You're not stuck in a feeling. You were stuck in a thought. The
Yeah.
thought created the emotion and the feeling. And when you can get those two things differentiated and you can get this all up here, like nice and tight, you're
Yeah.
good. Something shifts.
Yeah.
And I think that that's where I've gotten to is I've learned to really pay attention to my thoughts. Shit went sideways for me this past week and everything in me was just like, go into the darkness, go in and hide yourself and do this and do that. And I'm just like, nah, I'm just gonna through it all. I'm just gonna breathe.
Yeah.
And when I did that, it's like it didn't feel so bad. It didn't feel so heavy. It didn't feel so like, oh my God, the world is ending. Like
Yeah.
I get sucked into what I call like the world events because they're everywhere. And how do you not feel it?
Yeah.
Well, you don't feel it by not going into it. Observe it. Just watch it play out.
Yes.
You are not a character in it, you are observing. And
Yes.
when you observe it, send it love. Pray. Prayer has so much power. Like
Yeah.
it is unbelievable what prayer can do. And so that's that's where I was going with the whole the emotional, the feelings and the thoughts. Those three things, if you can get those three, I'm not going to say in order, if you can get a grip on them
Yeah.
somewhat, you can start making really, really significant changes. And it may
Absolutely.
not always be outward. It might just be within yourself.
Yeah.
And when you work within yourself, because I am all about going inward, your inner world will eventually, you'll be able to see it outward. You will.
Yes.
There's no way it cannot because energy matches energy.
Yes. Yes. And I love what you say about like with the thoughts, the emotions, and the feelings, and then becoming an observer to those. Because for so many of us, we identify so deeply with the thoughts, with the
Oh
emotions, with
yeah.
the feelings. We're like, this is who I am. And we are this space, this container that can hold all of them and observe them without attaching onto them. And I know
Yeah.
for myself, that was one of the biggest struggles was understanding this kind of separation between the thoughts, the emotions, the feelings, and just going, oh, I can watch this without participating. How freeing is that alone?
I think when you learn that and you really understand it like in your heart, you can know it, but to
Yes.
understand it it's a whole new game. And it's
Yes.
a whole new, I'm going to even say power
Yes.
because it gives you power to change things
Yeah.
and change things at will, not because you're forced to, because you've been pushed into that corner and you're just like, fine, fuck, I surrender. Oh, like, you know what I mean? This is like, okay, I'm having these thoughts. Are these thoughts real? Okay.
Yes.
Are these thoughts, can I start picking them apart? What is it about these thoughts that are making me feel da 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 da? Like
Yeah.
these are the questions I ask people. And some people get really pissy about it. They're just like, I don't want to go there. Okay, but that's why you're having this, and this is because you're not dealing with that I don't want to go there spot.
Yeah.
That I don't want to go there spot is the soft spot. That's the one that hurts. That's the place that is uncomfortable. You've
Yeah.
got to touch it. You've
Yeah.
got to like I don't, as I like to say, you've got to nurture it and like kind of make it like Play-Doh and you have to touch it and make it soft again because it's hard and it's angry and it's, I can't even explain other than that. Energy has pliability if you know how to work with
Yes.
it. Yeah.
Yes. I'm so loving this. And I'm having a flashback actually, because a long time ago. I don't even remember when, but we had met for coffee at some place in Cambridge, and we were
Coffee
talking
culture.
about, okay, and we were talking about creating a workshop together.
Yep.
And you were actually talking to me then about thoughts. And you said that there was like this separation that was happening between you and your thoughts. And it was like they were a train that was going by, and you're going, I don't need to jump on that train. And now
Yes.
this is bringing it full circle to me because it's like, I
I
think
just
at
got
the time
goosebumps.
we were both kind of thinking, yeah, this is what it is.
Yep.
And yet we were still actually hopping on the train constantly and hopping
Oh,
back off. But
always.
now it feels like, oh, this has come full circle,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
we're
I
observing the trains now.
I think it's so interesting that you and we go back almost 12 years, if not maybe 13.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, where we were to where we are and everything we've learned in between, I think it's miraculous that every now and then we interweave and we
Yes.
interweave like in such a way that it's profound. It's never just, oh hey, good to catch up. It's holy shit. Thank you. I needed that. Like, and it's so out of the blue and it just I love it. I love
Yeah.
it. And that to me kind of shows like we are meant to be doing this. This is
Yes.
definitely this was a next step and a next
Yes.
step. Like, and I have to say, like, when it comes to the information highway, I challenge anybody listening to just stop. Just stop. Look at your thoughts. Don't worry about the emotions. Don't worry about the feelings. Let those be. They're going to be what they're going to be. The thoughts. The thoughts are the things that you have to look at and you have to start dissecting and you've got to start peeling it apart. When you get to that place, because you were asking me, like, how do you kind of like go into that? You have to ask the right questions of yourself. And it's
Yeah.
don't be afraid of the answer that comes up. It's going to be not what you think ever. It's never what you think. It'll always be, here's the thing, it'll always be the truth. And a lot of people don't want the truth. They want the, oh yeah, okay, it's going to be great. Okay, everything's going to be fine. Everything's going to change. Everything. No, the truth will always come up. And when it does, it sometimes feels really yuck. I don't like it. I don't want to deal with it.
Yeah.
For instance, the last relationship I was in, good Lord, that ruined me until it didn't. And the thing is, I knew with every fiber of my being, do not go into this. But because I needed to learn the hard way, I went into it. But
Yeah.
everything in me was like, no, 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 like red flags everywhere. And then at the end, I had to listen. I was like, how do I make this work? How do I, he's not a bad person. It's just, we don't communicate well. And it's like, you don't fit together, period. Let it be. Let him go find his other puzzle piece. Like, go. And I was like, okay. And that was
Yeah.
it. I just was like, okay, I'm done. And I let go.
Yeah.
But in letting go, it forced me to face my own stuff and really look at all the things that I was ignoring and all those red flags that came up that I ignored because I didn't want to rock the boat. I didn't want things to go bad. I just wanted someone to care about me. Blah, blah, blah. That's it. It allowed me to start healing. And I marched my ass to a shrink's office. I kid you not. And I was like, okay, I need help. I am drowning. I cannot do this by myself. And she's the one that said, start digging. Just dig. Every time you think you're at the bottom, dig a little further
Mm.
because you're almost there. Every time, just dig. One more, just dig. And I was like, all right, I'm doing this. So 9 months later, I think I'm finished digging and I'm just like, I'm good. I'm
Yeah.
good. And then I'm like, I might be ready to meet somebody. I think. I'm not sure. And I was like, but everything in me was like, yeah, you're ready. It's okay. You're allowed to look. And I kid you not, I found Brian that same day. And we've been
Amazing.
together for 4 years. So, and he honestly is he's the best part of me. And I say that in the most beautiful way, in the sense that, when the ocean meets the land, it just sort of sinks in and it yeah, that's what we are. He is my earth and I am the water. I am all water and he is all earth. Literally. Like
Okay.
in astrological terms, literally that is what we are. So we are very harmonious. And honestly, if I would have not gone deep into my mind and gone deep into those thoughts and gone deep into the why do I keep feeling like this? What is it that is making me make these mistakes over and over and over and over? If I had not done that, I would not be where I am. I wouldn't be in the relationship I am.
Yeah.
And it's the healthiest relationship I've ever been in because there's shit tons of communication. And I mean that in the most beautiful way.
Yeah.
When people say, well, love is all there is, yes, but there are other components.
Mm.
And the other components are you have to have trust and you have to have, you know, communication and you have to have respect and you have to have this this sort of like understanding that that person is still their own person and you are still your own person. You can come together and create something, but you have to understand that you have no control over that other person.
Yes.
All you can do is love them in everything they do, no matter what it is. Just love them where they
Exactly.
are. And that took me 40 freaking years to figure out. Maybe 42
Same.
years. It took me a long time to learn that.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell anybody, it's like it's not a race. We're not here to, well, I want to do this and this and this before I'm 30. I want to do this and this and this before I'm 40. And I want this. And well, I'm 50. There's no way I can start over. Are you kidding me? I have been starting over since I can remember, over and over and over and over. And I'm still reinventing myself all
Yeah.
the time.
Yeah.
I
I
think when you
actually heard a
stop,
quote a few weeks ago that said, hell is a stagnation of your
yes,
energy, and heaven is ever expanding. So when you're expanding yourself,
all
you're
the time.
stepping into heaven. And when you're stuck in the same old story, doing the same old thing, whatever, it feels like hell. And that it resonated with me so much
Very much.
because it is in that ever expanding, in that constant reinvention of the self.
Yeah. And that's just it. I think if you stop growing, there's an issue. You have
Yeah.
to constantly grow. And it's, trust me, there's a time to cocoon. I get that
Yeah.
100%. And you have to honor that as well. Give yourself grace to rest.
Yeah.
And because there are some people that are just like, go, 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 do, 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 do. And it's like, no, 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 no. You've got to slow down and you've
Yeah.
got to like integrate. You've got to like let everything sort of sink in
Yeah.
and then start again.
Yeah.
And I don't think enough people do that either. I think a lot of people are just, everybody wants the quick and easy way out. Everyone wants the quick and easy answer, but they don't want to do the work to get it.
Mm.
And it's like, don't be afraid to do the work because the work is going to take you places you never, ever, ever expected.
Yeah.
That's how you meet some of the most incredible people is by sharing your story with people.
Yeah.
And when it comes to like ayahuasca and intuition, it's yes, those are what brought me here, but ultimately healing is the path that I'm on. I'm here to, I'm not going to say help others heal because I truly believe that we heal ourselves,
Yeah.
and we heal ourselves by forgiving ourselves and by going deep within and doing the work. But I'm here to help people go inward because some people just, they really truly have no idea how to go inward. And
Yeah.
when people don't know how to go inward, they're just like, what do you mean go inward? And it's like, you have to listen inside yourself. And they're just like, I don't know what that means. And it's like, oh, honey, we need to talk. We need to like, let me get you going inside because
Yeah.
inside, it's scary. If you've never done it before, it's scary and it's foreign and it makes you feel like, holy shit, there's like a whole world in there that I didn't even know existed, but it's just playing out here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I just kind of look at it and I'm like, okay, when people are ready to heal, I truly believe that the teacher appears the moment that you're ready, all the
Yes.
time, each and every time. And it's never who you think it'll be. It's never what you expect, but it's always divine and it's always perfect and it's always the right time.
Yeah.
And that's something else that I'm going to kind of touch on is that God is never ever late. He's always on time and he's never early. So those moments where you're just like, I need it like right now. Okay, well, if you truly needed it right now, like needed it, it would be there
Yeah.
always for every single human being. And then people are like, oh, well, what about the homeless? What about this? And what about that? Every path is different. Everybody's need is different. Every soul has a different walk. And that's what I have to understand too, because I keep thinking, I want to heal the world. I want everyone to like, I want everyone to be kumbaya. I would love that.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen. And I'm very aware of it. The only thing I can do is pray for people. And in praying for people, it, I'm going to start to cry because I can feel it. In praying for people, it's also, I'm praying for myself. And I don't realize I'm praying for myself until I'm done. And I feel that sense of like,
Yeah.
it's like you can breathe. And it's not like you have to go on this big long-winded like, God heal the world, blah blah blah. No, just speak from your heart. Whatever you're feeling, put it out there.
Yeah.
Put it out there and what you truly need, ask for. Just ask for it. It'll come
Yeah.
if you truly need it. Not just
Yes.
because you want it, because a want is so, so different. I
Yes.
want a lot of things. I want to do a lot of things. Is it happening? No. And I understand why.
Yeah.
Because that want is not my need. It is not the need that is necessary for my growth at this time. And I
Yes.
just have to trust that.
Yeah.
And it's hard to trust when you're like, I want it. It's hard. But at
Yeah.
the same time, again, patience is a virtue.
Yeah.
And it's something that we all have to learn. It's not a fun thing to learn, but
Yeah.
we all have to learn it.
And I think the want is a perfect reflection of, okay, so what created the thought and what created the emotion and what created the feeling, that's behind the want. Because when we are
Yeah.
wanting something and like we're like, I want, it's like we're valuing this thing outside of us as being that kind of missing piece
Yep.
to complete us and thinking, I need this in my life in order for me to do whatever it might be that I think I need this thing for.
Yep.
And sometimes I feel like God will essentially go, well, you don't actually need that to be whole right now. So we're
Yes.
just going to keep you where you are so you can remember your wholeness where you are. And that's a hard one. It's a
It,
hard pill to
it's
swallow.
hard for sure. As I like to say, sometimes that's a really big piece of humble pie because it humbles you. It sort of
Yes.
makes you go, oh, who do I think I am needing all this stuff, all
Yeah.
these things, experiences when I have this life right here. I'm still breathing. I'm still
Yeah.
going. And the humble pie, I've had my fair share. I'm full. But it loves to come in cases for me. And when
Yeah.
when I eat the humble pie, it takes me to a different space. And I don't know many people like me who literally learn through trial and error. That is how I learn. And unfortunately, it has gotten me into some trouble and it has gotten me into some really sticky situations and it's gotten me into some really hard places. But I heard, and it's interesting. I've been following this new podcast and I'm not going to like give it a shout out or anything because it's whatever. But there was this thing that was said and it was, oh, they're stuck between a rock and a hard place. Awesome. That's how a snake sheds its skin. I was
Mm.
like, shit, I needed to hear that so much
Yeah.
because there are moments where I feel like I'm stuck between a rock and a hard place and I don't know what to do. And it's like all you have to do is just move.
Yeah.
Movement is life. And
Yeah.
if you keep moving, you will shed that skin and you're going to be like, oh shit, I'm stuck there. Okay, I'm not anymore. Like, done.
Yeah.
And, but you don't realize it until you create movement.
Mm.
And I needed to hear that like so much very recently because I was like, oh my God, I feel like I'm stuck. But I wasn't stuck. I was just shedding skin. And when I
Yeah.
realized that, I was like, oh my gosh. Oh my
Yes.
gosh. Okay. And then,
Yeah.
of course, all the ahas started coming. Like my dreams for the last like 2 weeks have been off the rails, like
Uh-huh.
just bizarre and intense. And I'm finding that I'm going into like, I'm going to say a lot of my subconscious mind, like really going in.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and the only reason why I say this is because I'm always in basements, and the basement is the subconscious mind.
Yeah.
So I'm in there and I'm fighting things. I am fighting, I'm going to say it, like I'm fighting demons. I am fighting like my own darkness.
Yeah.
But every time I do that, it's like there's light. All of a
Yeah.
sudden there's light. And I'm just like, holy shit, I am doing this. Like I am clearing out my own shit. Like this is
Yeah.
great. And I call myself a demon slayer while I sleep because that is what I do. I have done it many, many times. But it's interesting because I'm like, what in my waking life do I need to slay? What is
Mm.
it that needs to be slayed? And honestly, I'm going to say 9 times out of 10, it's a thought.
Yeah.
The thought is what needs to be slayed. And it's hard. It's hard to catch your thoughts and it's
Yeah.
daunting and it's tiring and until it's not. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like there comes a moment where you're just like, oh wait, that slipped through. Oh no. Like that can go. And when you
Yeah.
can do that and you can do it with a sense of humor and kind of like realize like, oh, that almost slipped through. Like, no, it becomes, I'm not going to say the word fun because it's not always fun, but sometimes it can be. It has
Yeah.
moments of fun. And
Absolutely.
and I love watching people do it because I've prompted it in some
Mm.
way, shape, or form. I've planted a seed and they're just like, I caught my thought the other day and holy crap, like it wasn't even my thought. I know it wasn't mine because I never think like that. And it's like, of course it's not yours because a thought is its own entity, it's its own energy. It comes from somewhere You just
Yeah.
happen to have the energy that it attached to
Yeah.
because it's the same vibration. All
Yeah.
you have to do is change the vibration, the thought goes. Like it's that simple. It's
Yeah.
it's weird because it sounds like a lot of work, and it is. It's simple, but it's not easy.
Yes.
That's the
Well,
way I'm going to
and
put
it
it.
goes back to that kind of like when you're identifying with the thoughts, it's hard to see it as separate to even see when a thought's coming in, right? So
Yes.
it is a matter of really slowing things down and picking things apart that just kind of make you go, so why do I think that way? Why
Yeah.
do I have this thought and whatnot? And when you can slow it down enough, then it becomes easier to do it. But it took me a long time
Me
to get
too.
there.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I love doing what I do is I like to push the buttons. I like
Yeah.
to ask the questions. I like to dig.
Yeah.
And I like to, I'm going to use it. I'm going to say it. I like to get a reaction. And
Mm.
the bigger the reaction, the more I'm like, oh, I'm curious. What's under there?
Yeah.
What do you have there that you don't want touched? Or what is it
Mm.
that's creating this and it almost 9 times out of 10, maybe even 10 times out of 10, it's fear.
Yeah.
Fear is always, I'm going to say it, is always, how do I put, it's what triggers the reaction. It's
Yeah.
the fear of understanding, knowing, accepting, letting go. It's that. But
Yeah.
fear, that underlying fear, mm, when that leaves, the transformation is always beautiful. Always, always,
Yeah.
always. And it just, oh, like my heart, when I see people, when they get that aha moment, when you see it and you're just like, oh my gosh, they get it. They get it. And all of a
Yeah.
sudden you see all their wheels turning. Everything is shifting. It's something in them lights up. And
Yeah.
when you see it, you're just like, yes, that's it. That's all you needed to do.
Yeah.
Sit with that and move with that and learn from that and just keep going. And I always say the moment you feel fear, walk into that. Walk into the fear. The only way out is through.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
do it. Go through it. And yes, it's uncomfortable. And yes, it's hard. But then there are people like you and I and others, of course, that we've been there, done that. We've learned how to walk through it. We've learned how to like walk on coals and burn the bottom of our feet and just it's like we got this. We listen, we have a roadmap. We can help you through it. Yes, there's going
Yeah.
to be a pothole. Jump over it. If you don't know how to jump over it, go around it. Like we will tell you how to navigate. And if you're not ready to navigate and you want to fall on your face and do it your way, you're more than welcome. I
Yeah.
encourage it. But there are people out there that do help. And there are people that go, you know what, we've been there, done that. You're not alone in this. Like, yes, it's terrifying. I will hold your hand, but
Yeah.
you got to do what you got to do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, one other thing I wanted to talk
Yeah.
to you about today was because I've seen I think it was a TikTok video where you talked about you're like a pattern recognizer.
Oh,
And I love patterns. So I was like, oh, we could have some fun talking about patterns because I feel like they're everywhere. And
yes.
yet most people aren't even like aware of the patterns. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on the
Yeah.
patterns.
So, okay, every single day is, if you think about it, time itself is a pattern. It's
Hmm.
it's sectioned. It's a pattern and it never changes. It's always the same. It is a pattern. You can recognize time the moment you see it. Period. Now, with myself, when it comes to people, I can see certain patterns so if, for instance, if I'm talking to somebody and they're telling me their life story, I will start picking out certain things that they're doing that are creating a pattern for me. It's like all of a sudden I'll see this, or sometimes I'll see little circles everywhere, or sometimes I'll see like zigzags, and I'm just like, oh man, okay, let's see what this is. And when I start putting it all together, it creates a picture for me. And when I put it all together, I'm just like, oh, okay, so this is what's happening. You have this pattern, it is creating this outcome. You've got this pattern that's creating this outcome. And the reason why you have this outcome is because this pattern, it's missing a spot here. It's missing something here.
Mm.
You're missing something there. I will start like picking apart their pattern, looking for, oh my God, I just had an epiphany. Sorry.
No, that's okay.
um, so it's like I'll start noticing that their pattern is like a little bit flawed because patterns are meant to be perfect to me.
Mm.
Patterns are like beautiful pieces of art.
Yeah.
Interesting enough, And Ikaros in ayahuasca is a pattern. And
Okay.
when the pattern has a break in it and it starts again, that's where something happens. It's like that's where a purge will happen, or that's where. So that was my epiphany. I was just like, oh my God, like, okay, I read patterns, and an Ikaro is a pattern. Ikaro is the song that is sung during ayahuasca to create um, change, to create the purge, to create something to come out.
Okay.
But so yeah, what I do is I just start picking apart their words, their actions, their life experiences. Believe it or not, even the way, like their mannerisms, the way that they fold their hands, the way their eyes shift, everything. And people are like, well, I have autism, so I can't make eye contact. No, there's a difference. There's a big difference. I get that. That's cool. It's when you talk, do your eyes look up? Do they look down? Do they look side to side? Do they look straight? Can you look someone straight in the eye? Like, I look at all those things. I also look at like microfacial expressions. I look at shrugging of shoulders. I look at every little thing. And to me, everything is a pattern. So even in life, for instance, like my life pattern, oh my gosh, you would be like, who the fuck knitted your blanket? That was awful. Like it was so horribly done, like a 2-year-old did that. And I'd be like, oh, I know, like I can't get this pattern down right. Well, in relationships, I got the pattern down. And I'm working on it now, not just in love relationships, but like family
Yeah.
relationships. Family relationships are a completely different dynamic. And it's because we have generational trauma. We do have generational things that people are very unaware of. The ones that are aware, like us, we see it, we notice it, and we're just like, holy shit, how do you not see it? Like,
Yeah.
you're living it right now. That's seeing a pattern as well. You're seeing a pattern within your family, and you're choosing to change the pattern
Yeah.
so that it becomes a little bit more harmonious. So my whole thing is I look at the patterns, and wherever there's a break, I'm just like, okay, let's analyze that. Let's dive into where that break is, because whatever is happening right here in this section, that is what's creating disharmony, disease, um, illness of the mind, whatever. But it's always because the pattern is broken.
Mm.
And when I see a pattern that's like free flowing, oh, it's beautiful. It reminds me of like one of those beautiful Afghan blankets that people make that are like just, colors, and it's beautiful.
Yeah.
But when it's broken, you have to dig again.
Yeah.
And it's weird because people are like, well, how do you know when it's broken? You can hear it. So when people are talking, you can hear when there's a break. You can hear when there's like a
Mm.
something. And that something is where I go, okay, wait a second, you paused. You paused when you said this. Why did you pause? Oh, well, no. Let's dig on that, because you can try to like, I love when people give excuses. I was the excuse queen. You can try to give me excuses out the wazoo. I've heard them all. I've probably given them all. So I can recognize them just like this. So the pattern itself, when I hear an excuse, I feel it. I can feel it in my whole everything. Again, intuition. And it tells me that's an excuse. That's not the truth. Let's dig.
Yeah.
And when I do that, I'm just like, okay, this here is happening. What is the pause for? What was that? And
Yeah.
I push buttons, and I get people kind of pissy at me, but I don't care because I'm doing it for their good. I'm doing it
Yeah.
to help them to understand themselves differently.
Yeah.
Um, and then also pattern reading, like when you're out and about, oh, when it's chaos, you know it's chaos. You can feel it. It's like people are cutting people off, and there's um just rude people. There's everything just seems really chaotic and weird. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
But when pattern, like when things are going really well and you see something, you're like, you start noticing, couples holding hands, you notice babies cooing, and you notice all the beautiful things when you are in the right headspace. Again,
Yeah.
headspace, and you're in a pattern. You're in this pattern of like, all is good, all is well, la la la. And you start seeing all is good, all is well.
Mm.
It's when you go into that, I'm going to say, like, the sky is going to fall, like you're waiting for the sky to fall. I promise you, you will start seeing the sky fall. You will.
Yes.
There's no way it cannot, because you're looking for it. whatever you are looking for, you will get.
Yes.
Period. Like, oh,
Yes.
sometimes I just want to shake people, and I also want to shake myself sometimes because I
Hmm.
do that. I I'm the queen of like, all right, show me a sign. And I'll look for it. I will look for it just to like validate what I want or what I need. And then when it doesn't happen, I'm just like, touche. Okay, I get it. I get it. The cosmic aha. And I just kind of I have to stop. And then when I stop, it's like all of a sudden it comes forward. And I'm just like, really? It's that simple. And that's it. It's like when you stop and look for what you're seeking, truly look for what you're seeking, and you move towards it, it cannot help but manifest. It'll be there. It has no choice but to be there.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking like go manifest $20 million. I think that's such shit. Good luck with that. If you can, go ahead. Give her.
Yeah.
I think it's more than that. It's like
Agreed.
if you want the really good relationship, you have to be willing to let go of the one you don't have. Like
Yes.
if you're in a shitty relationship, you want a good one, let it go. Let it go so that the new one can be born to come forward. You know what I mean? Not the person, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Um, and same with like your job. If you're not happy in your job, you can try to stretch it out as much as you can, or create your own.
Yeah.
Create your own because there right now we all know jobs are scarce. It's not fun out there. It's not pretty. But I truly believe that we all have skill sets that we can monetize and that we can use to our advantage, but to help other people. I think if you're using your skills just to like better yourself only, that's where you're going to fall on your face. You have to be able to help others.
Yeah.
It's others first and then yourself.
Yeah.
And it's kind of weird because self-care always says take care of yourself first and then others. Whoops. Take care of yourself first then others, but at the same time, you have to know when to do that and when not to do
Yes.
because
100%.
otherwise you're going to burn out.
Yeah.
And I can tell you I've burned out more times than I can even count
Yeah. Yeah.
because you give, but you're not allowing anything to come back in. You're
Yeah.
just like, it's okay. I'll figure out this myself. I'm going to do this myself.
Yeah. It's the giant out breath, and you
Yeah.
forget to take that inhale again so you can breathe
Yes.
out again.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think that, humanity, we're at a part, like at a point in time where I'm going to say this just bluntly. I'm just going to get it out there. We're at a point in time where we've got to get our shit together and we have to get our shit together really, really soon because there's a huge divide happening and the huge divide is just getting bigger and the anger, the hate, the resentment, the yucky stuff, as I call it, it's just growing. And the more that we feed into that, the worse it's going to get. Like, don't get me wrong. You don't have to love everybody in that way, but we all bleed red. We're all human.
Yeah.
We're all having an experience. We're all doing the best we can. The people that are going to be hateful and angry, let them be. Let them be angry. Let them be hateful. Let them do their thing. Plant a seed, though. Don't be
Yeah.
afraid to plant a seed.
Yeah. And I'll just add on to that because this has been kind of my growing understanding over the past year. Um, was that even with those that are angry, that are hateful or whatever, we go, well, we don't have to love them. To me, I look at those people and I go, when was I angry like that? And when did I have that much hate in my heart like that?
When you're
And
hurting,
when I was in the deepest levels of pain, that part of me was visible to others. And can I love myself for the amount of pain that I was in? And if I then can I exercise that with these people as well, understanding that this is not the true light of who they are right now. This
yeah,
is this is their pain that's showing up. This is really unexpressed pain that's now manifesting itself as this deep anger, this deep hate, this big separation, the divide or whatever. And can I just at least hold that space or that understanding for them? If I can't love it, then can I at least have that understanding?
that's what I call the planting the seed. Just
Okay.
send them a smile. Do just
Yep.
something to just plant the seed that we're not here to make life difficult. We're just
Yeah.
We're all here. We're all here.
Yes.
And we're just trying to make it work. And some
Yeah.
people make it work very easily. Other people really, really struggle. And someone once told me, and it was this: you can't heal everybody and you can't love everybody, but you can meet people right where they are.
Mm.
And that's it. And
And see,
it's
I
like,
would argue and go, so meeting them where they are and
yep,
allowing that, accepting that,
yep.
that's love.
See, okay. I think we can go there. We can do that because I kind of go, when people say, you know, you can't love everybody. I think that a lot of that means like the way that you would love your sister, the way you'd love your brother, the way you'd love your mother, the way you'd love your kids, that kind of.
Okay.
Now, there's love for humanity, and then there's like love for the people in your circle. It's a very different love. It is. It's still love.
Yep.
It's a different, it's a different vibe. It's a different feeling. At least I think so.
Okay.
Am I there yet? Not quite, because I'm still learning to love the people that I'm going to say have wronged me in the
Mm.
past.
Yep.
Um, I don't have the hate anymore. I don't have the anger anymore, but I still have an underlying something, something where I can't love them where they are. I can accept
Okay.
them for being human. I can accept them for making mistakes because we all make them.
Yep.
Am I at that spot of complete love yet? No. I'll
Okay.
be the first to say it. I am not.
Yeah.
Um, but it's definitely something I work on all the time
Yeah.
because Lord knows I have a few people in my life that are triggering. And it's okay. They're allowed to be. They're there for a reason and they're
Yeah.
there to provoke and to bring up
Yeah.
things that need attention. And
Absolutely.
love, unconditional love, is necessary. I'm not quite there yet. With a lot of people, I think I am. But then there's those ones where it's like, oh, I'd rather not. But then something in me is just like, are you being loving? And I'm just, nope, I am not. And I can feel that like, mm-mm. But
Yeah.
I know that I'm getting there. It's
Yep.
just sometimes healing is not linear. Sometimes you go in spirals and
Yeah.
it comes around over and over and over. And when finally, eventually one day I'm just going to be like, oh, I'm good. I'm
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
No hate.
Yeah. 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 I've been saying this year that I'm committed to walking on the edges of my love. And essentially, it's like I can express my love and I can expand my love, but it's meeting those parts of me that are like, but that's not quite lovable. I don't want to love this. And it's, can I stretch that horizon a little bit more? Can I expand on that love a little bit more? Which, of course, when you put something like that out to God, the universe, whatever you want to call it, you're kind of saying, show me all of the areas that I don't love and highlight them in my life, please.
Yep. And we know
Which
how
is
that
awesome.
goes because it'll always come up. Always.
Yeah.
You'll notice it and you're like, oh, I asked for that. Oh,
Yeah.
and I'm noticing that too. Like, I think that's what this past week for me has been about. It's been a lot of triggers, sort of bringing things up that needed to come up. They needed the light. And I was
Yeah.
just like, I don't want to. I don't want to. I really don't want
Yeah.
to. Okay, I'm doing it. Like, I'm telling you, when I am forced into surrender, I surrender. I have to.
Yeah.
But this time it was more like okay, okay, like, here we go. Like, I'm used to this. I should be doing this with my eyes closed now. Like, let's keep going. So I'm I'm still in that healing process as well. But the
Yeah.
great thing is like I'm nowhere near the end, but I'm nowhere near the beginning either. Do you know what
Yep.
I mean? Like I am so far from the beginning, thank God, because the beginning is the hardest part. The
Yeah.
beginning of healing is the hardest until you walk a while and then you get used to your legs and you get used to it and you're just like, all right, I'm good. I'm
Yeah.
good. And then you fall and you get back up and you fall again and you get back up. And it's this, it's we're all just walking each other home. And some of us dance and some of us fall and some of us tumble and some of us, will backflip and whatever it is, it doesn't matter. It's that we're all going to the same place at the end in some way, shape, or form. And I know that I'm going to hear backlash from that from people that are Christian, because they're going to be like, yeah, but no, I'm going to say it. I'm going to say it with conviction, because the God that I know doesn't condemn. And the God that
Yes.
I've met is like, I love you no matter what. I love
Yes.
you where you are at all times. And I'm going to say this too: God will always find you wherever you are. You can try to hide, you can try to run, you can do everything you want. And then one day you're going to be like, shit. And you're going to feel the conviction, and you're going to feel the like, I'm going the wrong way. It's, again, it's an intuition, but that's trusting that God self within you.
Yeah.
We all have God inward. You can't lose God unless you push it out, literally. And
Yeah.
then you're separate. And when you're separate, you are miserable. You are a miserable human being. I wouldn't even call you a human being. You're a shell.
Mm.
Without the light, you're a shell. And
Yeah.
it's hard.
Yeah.
But oh,
Ah.
whoa.
This has been so awesome, Karen. I'm going to ask you one last question that I try to remember to ask all of my guests. So, if you could have one message for the world right now, one thing that you wish everyone in the world could hear, what would you want the world to know?
Interesting. I was thinking about this the other day. Um, I used to think it was just love each other. That simple, just love each other. Instead, I think it's more like this: don't forget your brother, don't forget your sister. Just don't forget. We're all we're all here. We're all doing the human experience. We're all in this. If we leave one person behind, we're leaving ourselves behind in some way, shape, or form. We all have to go collectively. So, yes, it's love each other, but it's don't leave anyone behind. If you can leave somebody better than the way that you found them in any way, like whether it's a smile, a look, a hug, anything, do it. Just do
Awesome.
it.
Thank you so much, Karen, for everything that you've shared here today, for sharing so openly and so passionately about everything. And I look forward to connecting with you again.
Thank you so much for this. Like, this was amazing. This was so much fun,
Awesome.
for sure.